Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 82. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the process. No matter what stage of life that you're in, whether it's in business, your personal life, your relationship, it doesn't matter. We're all going through some type of purpose. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always thought that once you reach a certain level of success or income, or a certain level in, you were young and now you have a family and now you're married or whatever the case may be, that someday you're going to reach a point where the problems just stop because you've accomplished enough, you've done enough hard work, you've made enough money, you've had enough success, you finally got a good group of friends. And we all long for that one day wishful thinking that all of those processes, problems, potential stress just goes away. And I know I thought that, or at least I hoped for it. And what was interesting is either not only me going through so much and so many challenges and having success and still seeing, well, on the other side, it's not that easy. It actually maybe gets harder, but also talking to people who are decades and decades older than me that have been through even more challenges than I can ever imagine. And even though they're further along, they're still dealing with processes and with growth and with challenges that you would never imagine. Now, when you're looking at an obstacle or a problem, whether you're in high school and you're trying to figure out what to do with your life, or whether you're a successful business owner and you're trying to grow it, or anywhere in between, you are in some type of process. And as I've gone through these different challenges and starting from damn near nothing to figuring out how to be successful in business, what helped me really succeed and also keep my focus and stay level-headed is teaching my brain and giving myself the ability to zoom out. And what I mean by that is, think about this. Why is it so easy to give the best advice to your friend or to your brother or sister or someone that you're not emotionally involved in the situation? It's because you can look at things rationally. No matter what happens, good or bad, while you obviously want good things to happen, it's not going to affect you emotionally, and it's not going to change or alter your life in a massive way. So you can look at it with logic, and everything seems to make sense. Is it because you're just suddenly smarter when it comes to everything besides your life? No, it's because your life, it's difficult because you have emotions involved. And every decision that you make, good or bad, is going to affect you and the success and the happiness that you ultimately end up with. So what I want you to start doing, and I'm going to break down a process how to do this. I'm going to show you guys examples of kind of how I've developed and continue to develop and work my brain to be able to do this. But I want you to kind of zoom out on your life right now, and I want you to kind of figure out where you're at right now. And the first step to this is just accepting it. If you're going through a crazy challenging time, you need to accept it. Write out how bad it is. And I'm not saying, be emotional about it. If you're in a ton of debt, write out how much debt that you're in. If your company is in a bad space, you need to write out exact details of why it's there. You go, well, Grant, if it's not good, why would I want to do that? Because that's the first step to changing it. It's the first step to looking at your situation and your total process of your development in a rational way. And when you start looking at things in a rational way, you can actually take tangible steps to adjust, change your target, and do the right things. Sometimes the answer is right in front of you on what you need to do and how you can evolve and change this step or change this decision. And we don't utilize our intelligence because we're going so fast. We're stressed about all the problems that are occurring. And because of that, we become every single situation, we just start reacting to it as it comes to us. The bullets are flying and we're just throwing up our best shot, hoping something's going to work out. You need to accept the situation that you're in. This includes success. You need to figure out where you are currently at, okay? Once you've accepted it, what you need to do is start thinking about why are you going through what you're going through? There was an interesting part in the first year of my business, and I'm in the solar industry for you guys that know, and I'm in a lot of different other industries, but this was my first time running a business where I had tons of employees, I have massive payrolls, I have stress. I'm 24 at the time, and I have never walked into any class or any university where they teach you how to really run a business like that. They talk about business, they talk about economics, they talk about the basics. But when you got tons of people working for you that have families, have kids, and you have to make payroll every single week, you have to perform. And that first year, we had tremendous success. And so it almost felt like I was on a victory lap. Like I pulled it off, I made it happen, I was feeling great. But what happened is, as a young CEO, I started scaling the business way too quickly. And I stopped focusing on the little things and the little details. But not only that, I was going into uncharted waters. At this point, we were doing our first year, we did just under 6 million in sales. And that was a lot to me at the moment. And I didn't realize that I needed to completely expand the infrastructure of the business, completely scale and change our processes and systems to help us to be able to support a business that was 2 or 3 times larger. And so I started scaling. I started opening up in this city and that city and hiring all these people. Next thing you know, the first quarter of 2021, we end up going negative cash flow, almost $200,000, which at the time to me was like life or death. And I'm having to pump hundreds of thousands of dollars into this company while making no money, while firing damn near half of my entire staff on people that weren't hitting targets and all these different things. And I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, if I cannot handle this, I will never be able to handle anything larger or be able to grow the company any further. And so while it was a stressful moment, I had been through so many different other challenging times where I was remembering, I remember at one point, one of my goals was just to be able to fill up my gas tank to where I could hear that clicking sound because it filled up all the way instead of having to put $5 or $10 on it. So because I handled those things and other challenges that came with it, even though this was, a pressured moment, it was stressful, I was able to handle it, get past it. And because I handled that situation, thank God I went through it, I learned to not make that same mistake twice. And I was able to multiply and scale the company at a really incredible rate over those next 2 years. So whatever situation you're in, you need to recognize, wait, why did you go through that? So let's backtrack, right? In my situation, why was I going through that? The simple answer was I had to because I was not good enough yet. If I was a good enough CEO at the time, or if I was a good enough business operator and decision maker, I would have never put the company in that situation. And so what happens is when we go through these types of challenges, they're there to develop and groom you. Okay, there's something I wrote out here that I want to read to you guys. Everything has a process. The greater the target, the more complex the process. If it has any worth or value, it's not supposed to be easy. And so if you have a huge target or you want to accomplish something that no one in your family's ever done, just because you work hard and you're a nice person doesn't mean that you're entitled to it. You got to think about how many people around the world want to do some of the things that you do or that some of the things that you want to do. And I'm not telling you that to, neg you out or make you feel bad or make you think that it's unattainable. I'm telling you this so you respect the process and respect the people who have had success in that specific field or have done something similar to you. And if you respect the process, when you go through these really, really challenging times, and maybe that's what you're in right now, you won't look at it like a sob story or that you didn't deserve it. You will zoom out and you'll go, if I was trying to put, let's say, a player in a video game and make them the best at whatever they're trying to do, would I give them an easy life? Would I give them really easy challenges that they could just easily get past? Of course not. Because if you did that, the second they actually face someone that's worth something, they'd get beat. They wouldn't be able to handle it. They'd fall under pressure. And so you have to look at each one of these situations as a grooming season that's almost sanding the rough edges off of you to develop you to be able to handle more. So when you're facing these things, you should look at yourself in the mirror and go, man, if I'm able to get through this, basically no one will, which means you will have the competitive advantage. So one of my first sales jobs, I would work in retail stores, and it was my first sales job, and I would sell cable and internet. I was 18 years old as my first job. And what I had to do is every single day I had to talk to a minimum of 150 people. And what this developed, because it's obviously uncomfortable. I mean, imagine you shopping for groceries, but having to go talk to 150 people and try to convince them to buy something. It's very uncomfortable. And what happened is because I was doing that every single day, anything related to business felt easy to me. Now I could walk into a boardroom with the most powerful people in the world, and I would not be the slightest nervous. Because if I could go talk to 150 people that don't want to talk to me every single day and know what to say, know what not to say, know how to talk to this person this way and that person this way, then talking to a couple of people in a boardroom is simple, especially on a planned meeting. And so when I transitioned into becoming an entrepreneur and starting my business, I'd been so used to dealing with rejection, dealing with all these things, that not only was I more developed in sales, but I could have more difficult conversations. So we have to trust, and it's like Steve Jobs says this, you can only connect the dots working backwards. So when you're looking forward, you just have to trust that they're going to ultimately eventually connect and you're going to get to where you want to go. So I want you to think back over your last 5-6 years, whether you've gone through school, whether you've built a business, whether you've changed careers, maybe you went through difficult times. And I want you to sit there and think, if you could eliminate those challenging times that you went through, would you actually still do it? Would you? Maybe for some, if it was a health situation or a family member passing, obviously we'd all want to change that. But if we look at challenges that are tangible, that were associated with a bad relationship or something to do with work or with your business, you probably wouldn't get rid of it. The reason why is because if you did not go through that, you would never be where you're at now. And so that's my point to you guys is I want you to start analyzing your life in a tactical form. Think like a grand strategist. And while it's easy to say, well, I just go through life, I don't want to do all that. You can. But life is a game when you really look at it. It's one giant video game. And everyone generally wants similar things. But why does 1% control it? Less than 1%. Because they're moving with strategy. You have to stop operating off of emotions and autopilot. I was talking to one of my good friends, and they were telling me about this person that was in their group that was talking bad about them, that was doing all these different things. And they kind of broke down this person's personality. And when I was done, I said, honestly, no offense, but that's not shocking. You just described their personality, that they act like that. That's who they are. Why are you surprised when they said these things about you? And so we have to trust that people are going to be who they are, not trust them blindly. We have to assume that people are going to want the best position at the company. So why should you be shocked when they're going after and try to compete with you when they're supposed to be your friend? You see what I mean? Your emotions and the things that you want, you're entitled to nothing. So you have to create intrinsic value for all of the people that are surrounding you, the economy, the company that you're in, the marketplace, and you have to think with strategy. You have to think about why people do what they do and why you're going through what you're going through, and look at yourself and be accountable and go, okay, why did I go through this situation and how did I miss it? And what caused me to make these mistakes to create this problem that I'm going through now? Because if you were so good, you would not have this problem. Does that make sense? And so shifting your mindset to someone that is accountable and looks within instead of outward is the biggest indicator of success. All the time, I became great friends with people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, a few billionaires. And every time I talk to them or I listen to them, I realize the one common trait is that they're undoubtedly accountable. They blame themselves for everything. If someone betrays them, they're looking at themselves and going, how did I miss this? If something bad happens in their industry or business, they're thinking, how did I miss this? How did I not see this coming? Or how do I pivot and prevent these things from happening? The greats always look within. And so it's important that you start shifting your mindset to zooming out, thinking long-term, becoming a grand strategist, and actually start taking accountability for the things good and bad that happen to your life, because once you do, you now have the ability to be able to control them, change them, and create a better situation. So hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Obviously, you guys can check me out on all my Instagram and social media channels at Grant Mitt. Also on my YouTube channel for more long form content. And if you guys are watching this right now on YouTube, you can check all the previous 45 episodes that were actually on my Spotify and Apple before we actually started putting them in long form content. But as always, thank you guys for the support. I hope to see you guys for episode 83. Thanks, guys.